Hi, welcome back to yet another pod. We're back in the saddle like never before. A few things to update. Nothing as far as fishes and all of those different things. The big update is I am learning how to use OBS. And there's a bit of a learning curve for your boy. Why am I learning OBS? Well, because there may or may not be some live streaming happening in the future. And I am excited about that. Working out the kinks over the next few weeks. But once I figure out and master how to use OBS fluidly, I will be unstoppable. So stay tuned for that. Also, this space that we're in, we have a few weeks left of this being the canvas in which I paint every video, and then we'll be moving to a different space. So I am very excited to do that and to design that and to show you. So stay tuned for that as well. Lots of cool updates. Life is very busy right now, but it is fun. I am happy. I am healthy, and the people in my life are as well. Today is mostly going to be about music, and I don't feel like you'll be mad at that because that's what we talk about most of the time. So I fully intended on making a Discover Weekly top 5 this week. The whole segment, you know the drill. Instead, I'm going to make music that I have discovered this week top 5. A lot of things have popped off since we've last talked. Kendrick came out with a verse on Metro's album We Don't Trust You, and that sent a lot of shockwaves through hip-hop because he came after Cole and he came after Drake. I have no qualms with him coming after Drake because I'm not a fan of Drake. Yeah, I listen to a few of his songs now and again, but I think that he peaked on his first album and it's just been whatever since then. My hate aside, came after Cole. And I am a huge J. Cole fan. I am a J. Cole apologist. I will probably defend J. Cole to the grave. That is how I used to feel about Kanye West, but he has just done way too many bad things, and he's indefendable at this point. So all of my defense that I had towards Kanye has moved towards Cole. In Kendrick's verse, he comes after the first-person shooter song, which if you haven't heard it, I don't know where you've been. It's been out for probably a year now. If it hasn't been out for a year, it just feels that way because it's played so much. Comes after that song, which has Cole and Drake featured on it, talking about how they're, the top 2 artists, blah, 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 blah. And he says, forget about the big 3, meaning himself, Drake, and Cole, and says that it's me, me, me. Which that line, he came hard and he came correct, and I can understand why people felt the need to respond. Now, who I didn't think would respond, because I've never really seen Cole respond in this way, is J. Cole. And he responded when he released he calls it an EP, it's an album. There's 12 songs on there. I think it's down to 11 now, which we'll get into. He released this project, and in it, he talks about how he is the best in hip-hop, and he's on the throne, and he's just coming into his prime, even though most people around this time are coming out of their prime, and they're washed up, and blah, 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 blah. All these different things. He comes so hard at Kendrick that I think he got him a little bit. He did get him a little bit. Now, before we get into that, what I feel like should be explained, at least my understanding. When I first started listening to hip-hop, I was told rap is a competitive sport. That holds true today. And I think that is what Kendrick has come up with as far as hip-hop goes. And I feel like I understand his perspective in this whole situation when he sees Drake and Cole being buddy-buddy when they're supposed to be, the top 2 of 3 in hip-hop. His thought is, hey, if we are competitive with each other and we push each other, iron sharpens iron, and we make each other better, and we make hip-hop better as a whole, and there's all these classic things that come out of it, etc. But when you're just buddy-buddy and you're making songs that don't really have substance to them aside from inflating your own ego and your pockets, that there's no point to doing that. So I can understand where he's coming from, and I can understand why it feels like he's alienating himself from the other 2 a bit. I get it. I do. Now, Cole comes at him in his song, 7 Minute Drill, and essentially says his first album, classic, his third album, classic, everything else, subpar. And people gassed him up for no reason just because of his name, and he only puts out a good feature every 18 months or so. which is a reference to a Jay-Z diss, which is awesome. And that's why we love hip hop. He even says in it that he is upset that he's having to make this, but he wasn't the person that started it. And he really rocks with Kendrick and all these different things. So that goes out. A few days pass and Cole comes back out on the internet and I think at a show and is like, hey, I'm taking it back. I'm redacting it. I don't like the energy that I put out there. This is not what I'm about. Because like I said, I did not expect Cole to respond or come at Kendrick at all. Typically, if someone says something to Cole, he just takes it in stride and is unbothered by it because he's a positive dude, at least from the perception that he puts off. He takes it back and all of these people are pissed off because he took it back. They're like, oh, he could never have the throne of hip hop. He could never claim to be top this. He could never this. He could never that. And I think that is all balderdash. It is so dumb. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He saw the effect of what he put out into the world and he didn't like it. And so he took it back. I don't think that makes him weak. I think that shows a sign of strength to be like, hey, I don't like how this happened. And I admit that this didn't go the way I wanted it to, or whatever his thought process was. So I'm going to apologize and hope that we're cool. You have the other end of the spectrum when Drake and Pusha T were beefing and Drake is like, oh, I have this song and it's going to destroy lives. It's going to do all these things, but I'm not going to put it out. Like this beef is over. This beef is over, blah, 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 but never put out the song. So we have no idea if he even made a song. I think he's full of crap, if I'm honest with you. Push definitely destroyed Drake, but Drake is a pop star, not a hip hop star, so he prevails. He survives. He moves on. But the fact that Cole put out the song, sat with it, and was like, don't like this. I have respect for it. I wouldn't have done that. If I put it out, I would have just let it ride, personally. But I do respect and understand where Cole's coming from in all of this. So I think that, let's just let him live. Let's just let this play out. And I think that at the end of the day, all of this is entertainment. And so it's fun. As long as it stays on wax, doesn't spill out into anything beyond recordings and little jabs here and there, we're good. Let's just keep it at that. Now, regarding the rest of the project that J. Cole put out, Might Delete Later, so freaking good. It feels like one long advertisement for the fall off. And if the fall off is any better than Might Delete Later, we have a classic on our hands, guys. We have a classic on our hands, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait for the fall off. We've been hearing about it since 2018, whenever KOD came out. We're all about it. So that kind of sews up that end of the beef between Kendrick and Cole. Now, Drake, being the other person involved, had a song leaked, whatever the hell that means. I don't think that anything that comes out of Drake's camp is unintentional. Sorry. I just feel like this dude is a clown and he's trying to have one foot in the door, one foot out the door. It's like, oh, that was a leak. That wasn't supposed to come out. I didn't mean it. He just wants a way out in case he gets blasted, which if Kendrick really wanted to blast Drake, I think that he could end Drake. As far as hip hop goes, Drake is unstoppable when it comes to being a pop artist. He's going to make music. People are going to listen no matter what. But as far as respect in hip hop, I think that Kendrick could destroy him 100%. But all that to say, this stupid leak comes out called either Drop and Give Me 50 or 50 Push-Ups or Push-Up Boy, whatever the hell it's called. And he comes after Kendrick. He comes after many other hip hop artists. Drake does in it. And I think that the beat is hard. I think that what he says is hard. His flow is good. I think that it's a good diss track overall. I just feel like it loses so much merit because it's a leak instead of just like, hey, I did this. I'm going to put my name on it. In it, he disrespects one of my favorite artists. We've got a lot of my favorites involved in this beef right now. And it makes me very enticed and very invested in what's going on. But Drake comes after my boy Abel, The Weeknd. That's not a path you want to go down, Drake. I'm sorry. Yes, The Weeknd is not a rapper. He's not a hip-hop artist. He is also a pop star. But this man does not play games. Metro releases a second project called We Still Don't Trust You. And on it, The Weeknd is heavily featured. I would highly recommend the title track with The Weeknd. It is so freaking good. I have been listening to that song nonstop. It's not a deep thinking song. It's just vibey as hell. The Weeknd comes out on the song All to Myself and responds to the disrespect that Drake sends his way by essentially saying, boy, am I glad that I never signed to your label because that would have ruined my life. Because historically, if you look at Drake's recording label, none of the artists out there really break out. And it feels like it is a factory for music for Drake because he's obviously the priority act on the label. That may not be true. A lot of that is conjecture. It is all alleged, but that is what it is, and let's just call a spade, as Mr. Joseph Budden would say. The Weeknd responds, gets involved. Other people are getting involved, and I don't even know if all these people that are responding were even dissed, but I think they want to stay relevant, and I feel like that's realistically why this leaked by Drake, is just so his name stays in the news, so he stays relevant, which I don't feel like he needs because he's the artist that he is, but perhaps he just is seeking a little bit more attention than normal. It's very interesting. I'm excited to see how this continues to play out, and with all the songs that are going to be put into the catalog of this beef, I don't feel like we've had a beef at this level since I've been listening to hip hop, where all these big artists from all over are coming at each other. I think the other time that this happened was with Kendrick's Control verse. That would probably be the most similar, in my opinion. So it's very interesting. I'm excited to see how it unfolds. Going back to the two Metro projects, they're both solid. I actually enjoyed them, and I was surprised by that. I am not the biggest Metro fan. I am not the biggest Future fan. I'm extremely neutral towards them. If they put something out, I'll listen to it, and that's kind of the end of it. But I have been going back and listening to a few songs. I think that with how many tracks there are, it would be impossible for you not to find at least one song that you like. Would recommend checking out that project. Also, go check out my Delete Later. It's worth every second of your time. There's no skips. The only song on there that I'm a little miffed about is Fever. It sounds a little too Drake-esque for me. I can tell the boys have been hanging out a little too much, maybe. Maybe that's why Kendrick, he heard that song Fever and he was like, hey, I got to put Cole in his place. Maybe that's why this whole beef came out, because of that dumb song Fever. Not a bad song. It just sounds too much like Drake for me. So that's my skip on there. But other than that, really, really good project. Kind of, sort of, staying on the same vein with all of this stuff, which when I say this next thing, you're going to be like, what? But trust. The Black Keys put out an album. Their album is called Ohio Players. This is a atypical Black Keys album. If you like the Black Keys, you'll probably really like this album. If you've heard one Black Keys song, you've heard this album already, in my opinion, which if you like them is not a bad thing. If you're not a fan of them, then maybe this is a skip for you. There were a couple interesting things that I have to point out. On the song Candy and Her Friends, the beat just changes. All of a sudden we got a hip hop beat and this dude starts rapping. And I was like, whoa, this is the best part of this song. This song prior to that is whatever. I'm just listening to it just to have listened to it. But that comes on, I'm like, okay, Black Keys, I see you. That's cool. Okay. The verse is, nothing to write home about, but it's solid, good. I have never heard of the artist that's on there, but you should maybe check them out. They could be your new favorite artist. Who knows? Then I keep listening and I see on the song called Paper Crown that Juicy freaking J is featured, who are two artists that you never would imagine or pair together, the Black Keys and Juicy J. I was like, dude, what are we doing here? Then I listened to the song, and I think this is my favorite song on this album. Unironically, I think it's a good song. I am not 0% of me, maybe negative 1% of me is a fan of Juicy J. I think Juicy J's music is whatever. I think his features are always fun. They make no sense, extremely nonsensical, but they are fire. I mean, think about the Dark Horse Katy Perry, Juicy J. What is he talking about? Who knows? But I like it. Same with We Still in This, B.O.B. before B.O.B. fell off of his flat earth. Juicy J is great with features, and he delivers here. I think this album is solid. I think it'll probably just get lost in the shuffle of their discography because they have a lot stronger projects. But nonetheless, there's some good cuts in here. would recommend. Now, Cage the Elephant has also released a single. I said, dude, there is so much new music coming out this 2024. I said it, and it's true. It's the year of our Lord, the year of music. They released a new song called Good Time. This reminds me so much of OG Cage the Elephant, and with the more singles that come out from this project, the more intrigue I have, because it feels like every single of the three that we have is from a different era of the band. Like I said, Good Time feels a lot like the first two albums. Then you have Neon Pill, which feels a lot like Social Cues. And then you have Out Loud, which sounds a lot like Melophobia and Tell Me I'm Pretty. So I don't know what this thing is going to sound like, but I'm excited about it. If it essentially comes down to being a greatest hits across the albums and them just collecting all the sounds from over the years and putting it into one project, I think that could be really great. I am trying to temper my expectations because I know if I get too excited, I'm just going to be let down because my expectations will be way too high. So I'm trying to keep them neutral because I think I'm going to like this. But very interesting so far with these three singles. And speaking of singles, continuing down this road, Rainbow Kid Surprise put out another single for this album that's coming out next month. And this single is not like other singles. Correct me if I'm wrong, but to my understanding, Rainbow Kid Surprise has never really had any features on any of their songs. And this one has a feature, and this feature goes so hard. Casey Musgraves, bro, if she keeps featuring on artists that I like, I might just become a fan. I still haven't listened to her music, and I need to. I know I need to. But her and Ella sound fantastic on this song. I think with this third single, it really pieces together the puzzle of what this album is going to sound like, which it sounds nothing like any other Rainbow Kitten Surprise album, which is what is to be expected because no album sounds the same as the last. Now with these three songs, the sound is starting to grow on me, and I'm really excited about this project. I think it's going to be solid. It's going to be a lot of songs, but I think it's going to be good. I'm hyped for it. Another very random song that came out, and I didn't know that this is what I needed in my life until I heard it, is Slash featuring Chris Stapleton on Oh Well. Slash shreds, as per usual. Chris Stapleton slays, as per usual. This is such a strange pairing to me, but it is the perfect recipe. It's like a chocolate chip cookie. Imagine the first time, people had cookies, and they're like, you know what? Let's put some chocolate chips in there. Game changer. I mean, I think this song is probably going to get lost in everybody's discography, and I might be the only one that remembers it 10 years from now, but it's a chocolate chip cookie to me. Okay. And finally, I am very late to the party on this, but something fantastic happened. Zach Bryan was playing in New York, and he had a guest come out, and this guest is one of my favorite artists as well. And I would put Zach in that category of being one of my favorite artists right now. The more I listen to his music, the more I like him. He's just sliding up the rankings for me. If you've never listened to Zach Bryan, please help yourself to a helping of some Zach. But he had Bruce freaking Springsteen come out. I got the chills watching the video. If I were there, I don't think I would be alive right now. I would have my life would have been complete, and I could have just let go in that moment because Bruce is in front of me with Zach. So good. They did Revival together. They did this song called Sandpiper. Now, I've been trying to do some investigations. I'm assuming it is an unreleased song. Don't know by whom, but the two of them are on there, and I need it. I absolutely need it. I need more Zach Bryan. I know the man has just put out 2 projects last year, but I'm hungry for more. So that was really cool. I love it when artists that I love collaborate or perform together. I think it's so cool. It just feels like such a wow moment. And so that was a wow moment for me. You should check out the performance. The video quality is not the best. The audio quality is not the best. But if you're a fan of both or either of them, it's solid and it will do the trick for you for sure. Thank you for listening to my rants and rambles and catching up on everything that's been going on in the musical world that I am privy to or at least the space that I'm in, my side of the internet. If you did make it to the end of the video, shout out to you. Shout out to your family. I hope that your family's well. And I will chat with you oh so soon. Until next time.